Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another
Hey,
episode.
everybody.
Yes, welcome to another episode of Love and Flow TV. I am your host, one of your hosts, rather, Kimberly Winborn. And then I'm joined by my co host.
Kimberly McGee.
Yes, yes. So we are missing our co host, Kenya Thompson, this evening. She had other priorities. However, she is with us in spirit. We had the opportunity to
Yes,
see her not too long ago. And so she says her hello as well. Uh,
yes.
yes.
Celebrating her birthday. So happy birthday, Kenya.
Absolutely, March.
Yeah.
So we are excited. Along with that, March is Women's History Month, and so
Yes.
this evening's subject, I am every woman. I am woman. We are going to talk.
I'm every woman is holding me.
Anything.
Anything you want done, baby, I do it naturally. Yeah.
Somebody was hype, right? So y'all remember that song by Whitney Houston that came out
Yeah.
years ago. So to
Yeah. Shaka,
start,
actually, Shaka Khan was first.
yes,
Shaka
Kimberly.
Khan did it. Shaka Khan did it first.
We know, but Whitney Houston is the one that probably more people
I,
remember. I
we
love
need
Shaka Khan.
more people. I know, but
I love
listen,
Shaka Khan.
I think it could be generational. Cause see, I'm more
Right.
privy to the shock. I'm more privy to the Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan. Do you
Yeah.
love me? Yeah, I'm more privy to the. I wasn't digging the. I mean, I wasn't really digging the Whitney Houston version, but I respect it. I wasn't
Mm,
digging it, but I respect it. Yeah.
Whitney can do no wrong. So we are starting off our evening with a spotlight for Women's History Month. Women's History Month is an important month because, as we know, women have been persecuted, oppressed, given the short end of the stick just because of
Hmm.
our gender. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
Through,
I know, right?
throughout history. And so they created Women's History Month years ago, and the colors are purple, green, and white. And we've talked about this before, actually, because we've celebrated Women's History Month for the
Mm-hmm.
last 3 or 4 years. And so tonight, I
Hmm.
want to introduce to you our spotlight for the evening, and that is going to be Miss Katie Gailes. Now, let me read a little bit
Yeah.
about Miss Katie Gailes. She's a proud North Carolina native, which is a rare find. I'm a North Carolina native, and when I walk in a room, people say, "Who's from Raleigh?" And I'm like one of the few people that'll raise my hands. But she is a rare find in the Triangle area. That's a rare find in the Triangle area for sure. Like I just said, she's a graduate of Bennett College for Women and the Duke University Fuqua School of Business. Katie has devoted most of her professional life to helping small business owners and entrepreneurs. After a long career with IBM, Katie spent several years. What's going on with this hair? Several years, 7 years in her own venture as a marketing and business strategy consultant for small businesses. She then spent 3 years as a counselor in the Growing America Through Entrepreneurship program at the NC Rural Economic Development Center, where she helped people who had been laid off from their jobs create jobs for themselves by starting their own businesses. I love that. In
Yeah.
2015, he created the Entrepreneurship Initiatives function at Wake Technical Community College. As the very first director of entrepreneurship at Wake Tech, Katie founded the Launch My City community based economic development model and implemented it under the Launch Wake County program umbrella. By the time she left Wake Tech in 2022, the program had trained approximately 600 small business owners and
Uh,
entrepreneurs across 9 towns in Wake County. Let's pause for a round of
wow.
applause.
That's amazing.
70% of them were African American and or
Wow.
women. Another round of applause.
Yay.
The Launch My City model is now gaining traction nationally and internationally with programs in Johnston County, Rocky Mount, Denver, Colorado, Lenawee County, Michigan, and Reading, England. Chapters in California are in the pipeline. So Katie also created multiple programs for Wake Tech students under the Launch Wake Tech umbrella. And in 2022, Katie co-founded Our Stories, Brave Conversations on Race, a nonprofit aimed
Wow.
at building peace in America through guided conversations about personal experiences with and knowledge of and race and racism. The organization has 3 chapters and over 400 graduates. Katie now serves on the advisory board for the Wake Tech Business Administration Curriculum Program and on the board of directors for the North Carolina Community Impact CDFI and the United Strings of Color. She does entrepreneurship training and coaching under her own venture. In fact, she is facilitating the most recent Launch My City class in Johnston County, North Carolina, called Launch JOCO. In entrepreneurship circles, Katie is known as the entrepreneur whisperer. So let's introduce to some, reintroduce to many, but definitely spotlight Katie Gailes, the entrepreneur whisperer. I love it. I love it. Round of applause.
Yeah.
We need some sound effects,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much. I know between the two Kimberlys, you guys know everyone. So to be singled out this way, I am just so flattered and so grateful. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Absolutely. Kimberly, do you have any questions to go along with our spotlight? Because, I have thousands.
Well, first of all, with all due respect, I hope this is no disrespect. She is giving me Angela Davis, Alice Walker vibe. Like she's giving me all of that vibe just from her bio. I'm
Yes.
like, this is like I'm kind of starstruck here. Like this is amazing. So
Yeah.
just to hear your work. So one of the questions I have is, a little bit because I don't know about your background growing up. So can you give me some context of what was from your background, what drove you in that direction where you are now?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, just let me address the Angela Davis comment because we lived next door to Panther headquarters when I was a teenager, and with my
Mm.
giant afro and my sunglasses, I was an Angela Davis lookalike.
Oh,
So
yes,
she was my
yes, you're
hero.
giving me the vibe. Oh my gosh, she's my hero. She's one of my
Yep,
political heroes. I love her.
yeah, yeah, me too. Um, I think that I don't mind saying what my age. I'm 68 and a half. And
Yay.
Looking good.
thank you. It's the formaldehyde I put on my face. Um, I think that by nature I've always been a creative problem solver. But I will tell anybody I didn't find my groove swing until I was well into my 50s. So,
Nice.
sometimes my mother used to say, and she had 6 boys and 6 girls, and helped raise a bunch of other people, and she lived to be 86. And she got wiser. The older I got, the smarter she got, and I still quote her about every week. But she used to say that women aren't smart enough to know how to enjoy life and appreciate life until they're 40.
Mm.
So
That's
when I
good.
think about that, I'm thinking, and I watched how she blossomed over time. And the
Mm-hmm.
person she was at 40 was not at all the person she was at 60 or at 80 or even at 86. So I went through a lot of things that fed my curiosity and built my skills and built my confidence. But I think I found my groove swing in my mid 50s.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's encouraging because I'm in my mid 50s, so that's really encouraging to hear.
Hmm. Hmm.
Really, really encouraging. Um, with your upbringing, because you seem to have a deep love and a root in grassroots, just listening to what you're doing. It was there one pivotal moment in your upbringing that along as you were catching your groove that says, you know what, that reflection or that connection has brought me full circle to where I'm at now?
I think the pivotal moment in my growing up was when I realized that I did not want to work in tobacco all my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, my family were people involved in agricultural industry or in the service industry, cleaning houses, working in manufacturing plants. Going to college was not a common thing in my family. Everybody graduating from high school was not even a common thing. But I think a few summers working in the tobacco field convinced me there had to be a better way. And when we were short one tractor driver one summer, and none of the women who were working in the barn wanted to learn how to drive a tractor. I was 14, and I raised my hand, and that ended up being a terrific opportunity. It was an easy job, scary, but physically easy. And I still made the same amount of money as the people who were working really, really hard, up at the barn or out in the fields. So that was a lesson to me, that if you can learn how to work your brain, that you don't have to work your body as hard.
That's good.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Yeah.
I still drive with 2 feet, even in automatic, because of that summer, learning how to drive that tractor and being afraid that if I let it stall, I was going to end up in a ditch someplace with a bunch of tobacco on top of me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
That's
amazing
amazing.
to hear that side of your story. Those are great questions, Kimberly. And I just want to close out on the spotlight with asking, because I know she's going to stay for the rest of the conversation, but just asking, Katie, is there any encouraging word or anything that you would like to share? Because this is a season oftentimes where people feel like they are not worthy, and it's happening every day, all day. And you are consistently encouraging and inspiring entrepreneurs to step out and have faith in themselves. So is there something that you would like to say to the women out there who are just on the edge of their seats, looking to maybe have a business one day, but are a little nervous or scared, to encourage them, to whisper?
There are a couple of things. The first is, we have to have a healthy relationship with failure. Because anybody who's been very successful in their lives, they've been failing forward. It's not like they had some massive secret and they never made mistakes and they never fell on their face and they never had total failures. It's that their perspective on that failure, they didn't let the failure create so much shame that it discourages them from moving forward. They learn the lesson and they move forward. So that's the one thing I would say. I wish somebody had told me when I was younger that I should be bold. And what I would say to women, especially, be bold. Eleanor Roosevelt said, well-behaved women never make history. And that is true.
Amen.
So be bold.
I have that on a t-shirt.
Yep. And so recently I was in a workshop with the Women's Theater Festival, and all of the women, we were kind of having a supportive conversation, encouraging conversation. And one of the discussion points asked, in what rooms do you feel like you belong? And so in my younger days, I would have tried to figure out, well, what rooms are there? I'd be making a list. And finally I said, no, wait a minute. I belong in whatever room I choose to be in. That's where I belong. Yeah. And I encourage women to take that, to say, if I choose to be in that room, that's where I belong. If I choose to have a trucking company, that's where I belong. If I choose to be a snake handler, that's where I belong. And just to be bold in your life.
That's good. Thank you for those words of encouragement, and powerful words at that. And I love that. Be bold, because so many people do shy behind the beliefs and the words that other people have placed upon them. But to walk boldly in the knowledge that they are capable is something totally life-changing. So yeah, thank you for that.
Now we see why she's our Superwoman segment.
Yeah. I stalk her like.
Superwoman segment.
You start. Yeah. I'm trying to email and be in the inbox and everything.
Yeah.
Getting her DMs.
What an amazing, what an amazing advice. Yeah.
Well, we are going to have her for the rest of the show. So we also have some other beautiful ladies who are joining us this evening. Thank you once again to Katie Gailes. she definitely deserves the spotlight all over, up and down North Carolina, and nationally and internationally. So
Thank
for
you.
those of
Yeah.
you who have not heard of her, be sure to make sure to follow Katie Gailes and all that she's doing. And her next chapter, I'm looking forward to seeing unfold, because
Yes.
it is not
Yes.
over.
No, it's not.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Yes. Yeah. And she said that with boldness. No, it's not. Very
Oh,
quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So, Kimberly, please introduce
Yes.
our next
Yeah.
guest.
Yeah. So our next segment coming up is really in dealing with Katie Gales. Like, this is her story, her history, her story. And so we've got two really great women, powerhouse women that we're going to introduce, and we're going to talk about her story, history, her story. One is Joy Rutherford. Joy is actually a licensed clinical addiction specialist. She's a lead care manager, and she earned her master's degree at Liberty University's master's in behavioral science, a major in addiction counseling. She also works with outpatient therapists as an outpatient therapist, Medicaid assistance, trans treatment programs. She currently works for Sigma Health Services as a lead care manager, outpatient therapist, working with people who are struggling with mental health disorders, substance use disorders, recovering with living, who are recovering and healthy living. She also works with Stephen Minister, which is a pro bono work that she does, helping people in the community get connected to treatment and other resources that they may need. She is a woman of faith. She is an absolute powerhouse and a huge voice for mental illness and mental health advocate. I've known Joy for a very long time. She's also a really good dancer because that's how we met. And then we have Felicia Baxter, who is a single mother, and she is a graduate from North Carolina State University, a talent acquisition communication specialist. She focused on content writing, proposals, bringing career development in rural communities. She's building social media presence. She is an accomplished, a wellness coach, and her passion is really inspiring and empowering people. I've known her forever. She is sorry, I think I got excited in my camera. She is a native like Katie. She's a native Raleighan, and she is living. Oh, well, she's amazing opportunity to move to Smithfield, which she lives now. Her personal and professional goals is really working with the community and the opportunity of individuals, resources needed to continue to thrive. She's a certified life coach, fitness and wellness coach. She obtained her leadership certification as well as project management. Her hobbies is volunteering, community, teaching, fitness, class running, spending time with family and friends, furniture redesigning, which I did not know that, staging and thrifting, and I do know this one, dancing, because she has danced with me, as well as the arts. She just loves life. And one of the things I'm super proud of her doing, she is stepping out and she is running for office for state senator. And so we are going to let her talk about that journey and what that's like as a woman of color. So I would like to introduce Felicia as well to the show.
Good
Thank you.
evening.
Hey, good evening. Good to see
Hey.
everyone. Thank you. I was crying. I was like, man, that's who that person is.
I'm going
Right.
to adjust my camera because I think I got
We
excited
got
and my camera
excited
got
and it flipped.
excited
We
with
started
me.
talking about dancing. It flipped
Yes,
over.
yes. Well, I just got excited. I did not realize and I've known you forever. When I did not know you did all the thrifting and the redesigning of furniture.
Yeah,
Oh, wait a minute. There we go.
yeah. You,
Yeah.
as a
All right.
single
We
mom,
love
you have to,
technology.
yes, as a single mom, you got to be creative and find furniture. So I started like painting over furniture, sanding it down, thrifting, finding pieces. And so that's how I actually like
Wow.
really got like my apartments, furnished and everything. And so I have a piece that I have of my grandmother's now here at the house, and I'm going to actually keep the whole feature of it, but I'm going to do some different things once the pollen finishes.
Oh,
Yeah, I love stuff like that. I love
that's
finding that needle in a haystack.
amazing. I love that. You just when you think you know somebody, you learn something new. How
It's
about that?
always a surprise. It's always a surprise.
So let's talk about y'all's stories and individually, your driving force. Because one of the things we're talking about in Women's History Month, or her story, her History Month, is the driving force, what the energy behind your actions, and why is it so important? And Felicia, I want to start with you because as long as I've known you, when I found out that you were running for office, I was not surprised at all, though I did not realize your passion until I got involved in this about your passion for politics. But I was really so proud of you and just in awe that you've taken this leap of faith. So give us, what's that driving force? Where is that coming from?
Well, definitely, if anything, like you said, it is a leap of faith because it is not easy to be very vulnerable in that way. Now, I could teach a fitness class all day long and get right out there in front of people, but boy, running for office. But what really inspired me is I ran for another office, I mean, of course, it didn't go, it didn't go to an election or getting voted in, and that was okay because I really love being a part of my community, and it continued to teach me a lot of different things. But what was fun and what was interesting is having a conversation a couple of weeks before my dad passed, right after Thanksgiving. So right before he passed, he and I were talking about that particular run. And I told him, I said, I didn't win. And he said, well, will you continue to run? And maybe God has a different platform for you. And I kind of looked at him like, okay, I'm going to definitely run again, but didn't even think about running for anything outside of just something right here local in the community, which is perfectly amazing opportunity as well. And so that was that conversation. And then at church that Sunday, my apostle was praying over me and she kept talking about leadership. And I'm thinking, did they have the same conversation? And then that Monday, I get a call from a senator actually recruiting me and asking me would I be interested in running. And I looked at the phone like, really? And so literally I said, I need to go pray. It's what I need to do. I got to go pray about this because it's not easy to say yes. And then of course, I was more concerned about my dad at the time, but I really gave it some thought and I really listened to what he had to say. But that's like the driving force is just knowing, even though I didn't share with him that I was running because I hadn't made the final decision yet, but that it made me think about the community. It made me think about some of the things that I've been wanting to do. I never thought it would be in this kind of platform to be able to run for office because my high school history teacher will be extremely excited right now, right? But never thought about it in this way. But I thought about the love and the passion that I have for the community and bringing about change and being a change agent for the community and being a voice for the community. And that's really inspired that opportunity to say yes, to run. And as a woman of color, we definitely need more faces. We definitely need more women to run. We definitely need to have more women of color run. We actually need more men of color to run as well. But we can definitely change a lot of things because our voices now are starting to be heard. And just like, our first guest, our spotlight, you got to be bold. You got to be bold enough.
Yes.
You got to be authentically who you are to be able to say, I can do this. I can definitely make about change. And so that's where it really stemmed from, is that definitely my dad has been an inspiration for me, although he's not physically here with me any longer. But definitely, if anything, I just knew it was a time for that toe to go into a whole foot and go ahead and make that leap into it. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I think politics is definitely, it is not, I mean, you're talking about a very mucky water type
Mhm,
of
mhm,
industry.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I think you do have to have, like Katie said, you have to have boldness. And
mhm.
I think too, you have to have it as a person of color.
Yes.
And you've got a double whammy as far as a minority woman and a
Mhm,
woman of color.
mhm, mhm.
So having that driving force, I think having that rooted in you is going to be something to really see. And I'm excited for it. So so you're running for state senate? correct?
Yes. So North Carolina Senate for District 10, and a lot of
Okay.
people are like, "What is District 10?" I know Katie knows what District 10 is because I saw her
Yeah.
nodding her head. But it
Mhm.
is Johnson County, so yes,
Yeah. Okay.
it's a big county, it's a big undertaking, but
Yeah.
I'm ready
Yeah.
for it. Yes,
And
Good
it's a
deal.
growing
Good deal.
county.
and it's
And
a very growing county as
Yes,
well.
it
the
is.
Absolutely,
demographics are
it
Yeah.
is.
changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we got
Yeah.
numbers in the future as well. So yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
growing.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm
Yeah.
truly honored, and I've met some amazing women along this journey who are there to be mentors. It's
Mhm.
just an amazing piece to be a part of, and you don't feel like you're alone around the sea
Yeah.
of other
Mm.
women that you're around. So
Yeah.
it's definitely
Yeah.
something that we forged and bring the sisterhood together in so
Yeah.
many different ways. So
Yeah, but
Nice.
before we get to Joy, I do want to say something. I think when we're talking about culture and something
mhm,
that it was in Katie's bio, I'm dealing with culture. You know, Smithfield is not known for it being a more uh, pleasant people of culture, because when I moved down here in
mhm,
1986, that was the first thing that people said, do not go to Smithfield, because there was a sign that said the land of the Ku Klux Klan. And so actually knowing that you are stepping foot in that kind of arena as a
mhm,
woman of color,
mhm.
I think that is the definition of boldness and grit and resilience. So I applaud you for that, because that is not going to be an easy undertaking. You're talking about changing a cultural mindsets and people who've been deeply rooted in Smithfield
Mhm.
forever.
Yeah.
But I know the woman you are, so I'm excited to see that unfold.
Thank you so much. And we're starting to see small shifts beginning to happen here
Yeah.
in the area, which is nice because I have to say, and I have to give this shout out to a friend of mine. She was actually elected, sworn in as the first woman of color in Clayton
Mhm.
for the town council there, Gretchen Williams. So it's
Mhm.
definitely bringing about change, and we're seeing it in other areas
Yeah,
as well throughout Johnson County. So we're definitely
perfect.
starting to see things pivot. So to see that change, Kim, I just tell you, it's something amazing to see. And there's still
Yeah,
more work to be done. It doesn't mean that there's not more work to be done, but voices are
yeah,
starting to be heard because things
yeah,
are starting to change, and the growth
yeah,
is coming, which is helping some of that
yeah.
change as well. So yeah, definitely.
Well, speaking about work to be done, Joy is one of those people I know. She is boots on the ground, work to be done. She has joined me too in pushing for minority mental health. Specifically in July, we have a walk coming up, and that is one of her drives is definitely the passion of representation. Her and I've talked about this tons of times about not having proper representation for people of
Mhm.
color. So, Joy, what is your driving force? What is the energy behind your actions?
Yeah, first of all, being in the mental health uh, field, I used to have social anxiety disorder. So, for me to be able to be with people all the time, it's really like it was a big deal for me. I, first of all, God really equipped, those who are called.
Mhm.
So you're born with special things in you. For example, like I'm called to be in the mental health and to work with people. God gave me the
Mhm.
compassion, which is extra.
Yes.
So when I was just growing up, I said, why in the world did I care so much about people?
Mhm.
And I would be right there with them, or I have no idea what exactly was that. So of course, um also, my son had mental health issues. He was struggling with depression, anxiety, and sadly, he left. I mean, he's gone now. Um, I have been grieving for about 2 years now. But yeah, the only thing that I know that I have is my faith. The
Yes.
first of all is my faith in God.
Amen.
So what I really have is I know that the Word of God, when He says that I'll be there with you every step of the way. And then I will comfort for when you're mourning. I don't like to be, I don't like that word of God to be used, because I don't want to mourn. But experiencing it, I mean, I know He's there. It's kind of like a very, like it's a light that's right there rolled out in the path. And then when I help people, when I am, I'm creating the treatment plan for my patients, it seems like my son is right next to me. So, yeah, maybe when I was growing up, God equipped me with that kind of compassion. And then also, God helped me to be in a school where I will be equipped also to do better with what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that the very first thing that you got to do as a therapist is, the most important is having a rapport with your patients.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then you really have to create a strong rapport to be able to take them to where this person needs to go.
Yeah.
So you have to have the kind of genuineness when you start talking to the patients. Be you.
Mm-hmm.
Be you.
Yeah.
I know, to become a therapist, you got to have this kind of training. You have to have master's degree. You know what? That doesn't really that's not the first stepping stone to be able to, help someone. Just be genuine. Just be you. Be
Mm-hmm.
human.
Yeah.
Talk to the
Yeah.
person eye to eye, and you let them know that you know what, I feel you. I am here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Compassion is
also,
everything.
yes, and then show them that you know what, I am human too, and I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When I lost my son, that week when I lost my son, I had 3 patients that was also struggling with grief, losing their sons.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then when I would do their sessions, I cry with them
Mm-hmm.
because I feel it, and
Mhm.
it it makes me real. It makes me human. So there was a
Yeah.
connection,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
and I just
powerful.
say, if this my cry is making you weak, just let me know, because.
Mm.
But then again, I cry because I feel your pain.
Mm-hmm.
The first, like the first few days, of course, my son was, was still here. And then 2 weeks later, boom, I lost my son too.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are 3 patients and me. They're therapists. I'm
Mhm.
human just like everybody else. When
Absolutely.
Right.
I
Yeah.
carry, when I carry them to, when I create a treatment plan and take them to the
Mm-hmm.
recovery, I mean, as a matter of fact, right now, there's another loved one that just passed. My brother's wife just passed,
Mm.
and I'm right here, and but I the thing is, I cannot just be knocked down. All right, so I know I can cry. I put my either I have time to grieve. I have the time to cry. Well, yeah, I've been grieving for 2 years because of my son, but then again, I cannot just be focused on that. That's why I do this. I work. I go to attend Kimberly's class because I have to have a life.
Yeah. I wanna say, first of all, so sorry for your loss. And, I want to edify the work that you are doing within the loss. Like that is
Mhm.
such a
That's good.
powerful, a powerful thing to be able to, within your grief, to support, encourage, uplift others, and I know that it's what I hear from you is almost like it's a part of your purpose, your calling in life. And it is a tough thing to consistently have compassion, and everybody does not have that. But to be able to have it at the same time when you're grieving is such a gift that everybody does not carry. And so I just want to edify you And thank you for sharing that with us. Mental health is serious. You know, it is something that a lot of people take for granted, that people are struggling. They don't want to see the reality of what's happening in front of their faces oftentimes. And people are starting to be desensitized as well to the fact that people are really going through. And so to have somebody working in that space like yourself, you know, just want to edify you. And back to the subject, I am woman. You know, we are nurturers. We are keeping families and communities and villages together. And so that's what I heard in everything that you said, that, you know, that speaks to woman. And so thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
How does our, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think one of the things listening to everyone's story and is it's just amazing that women, we have so many different driving forces, and many times our driving forces are out of necessity. It's out of survival. And it's just astonishing how women can supersede so much in our lives at layers of different parts of our lives and become these great pillars in our communities. And a lot of it, unfortunately, has have to come out of survival. Um, just thinking about my grandmother and my great grandmother, who were Black women. I didn't know my Irish grandmother very well. I knew her, but not as in depth as I did my paternal grandmother and great grandmother. And they just did. You know, I think there was just this thing about them. Like, if I was like, why did you do that? Because I had to. It had to be done. So I think that that's just one of the things as women, we just get it done. There's just that driving force of just getting it done.
And it bonds us, but a lot of times we look at the other person and compare ourselves to them and begin to hate and, you know, all of that, but it truly does bond us. And so, you know, one of the things that we talked about in preparing for this show is how so often women look at our differences instead of what really connects us. And so I would love to talk about that. You know, how do you all feel that our differences get in the way of who we truly are and what we truly have to offer when it comes to supporting one another? And we'll start with Katie, because you haven't had an opportunity to speak for a little while.
So I think that, you know, first of all, you know, we are human, and we've been socialized in the same society that men have. And we take on, without even realizing it, some of the roles that men take on in trying to define women and limit us. So I would say one of the first things that we need to recognize is that there's a lot of diversity within the group we call women. We're not supposed to be all alike. We're supposed to be all unique. And then that's the first thing we have to do, is appreciate the fact that we all have the right to be unique. Stop judging each other and expecting that every other woman should be like you. This whole thing that every woman is a nurturer, that's really not true.
That's right.
The women who are not nurturers, how much do we blame them for not being nurturers? That every woman, because they have a uterus,
that's good.
Your mother's going to make a good mother. Well, that's simply not true. And we permit a woman who does not feel the need to be a mother, or who maybe that's not her strength. How much do we judge her? Where a man can be not a great father, and all he has to do is do a few things that make it look like he's a good father, and we're just giving him all kinds of awards. But we have to be Wonder Woman in the mother department because of those expectations of the universal definition of women. So I think the first thing is we have to give each other grace and allow us to be ourselves. And not the universal definition of women that society imposes on us.
That's so very good. I think that's true. You know, I think as far as the accolades that men get for just showing up to the one baseball game out of 25, and then you have the woman gets the short end of the stick. But then even to the point of not everybody being a nurturer, you know, I think as a collective, we look at women as the nurturers of the family, right? But there are people who are not. But when you think through history, you always hear people talk about mama and them, right? Big mama and all of that. But there are women who are not, and that's just fine if they don't want to have children. But you're right, people do throw stones at a woman who says, I don't want to have children, or I want to focus on my career, or what have you, or knows herself.
People, but not just people. Women throw stones.
Yes, they do.
We are worse.
Socialized, just like we've been socialized to throw stones at each other. Because
Yes.
said, this universal definition of women. Instead of us trying, just like, you know, back in the old days, you know, you see a woman walking and her slips hanging, right? Instead of going up to her and saying, sister, you know, quiet, sister, you know, your slips hanging. Then we talk, look at her.
Yeah.
She's ashamed of herself, you know. We have to be careful that we're cognizant of the way that we've been socialized to judge each other.
Yeah.
Almost to turn each other. I remember my daughter was a competitive dancer. So, you know, there'd be all these very talented girls. There'd be one guy in the class and he would be in the center and he would be given a solo just because he was the one guy, you know, out of all these. So we have to be careful. Everybody was happy with that. So we have to be careful that we don't fall into that trap of just understand how we've been socialized to not support each other and to not unite and to compete and to judge each other.
Yeah. You know, and that's such a strong conversation, because I think it actually leads to something that we were going to talk about a little later, which is how can we get better? How can we do things better? And I know that's a later conversation, but before we go there, Felicia or Joy, did you have anything to add to this particular segment of the conversation?
Just real quick, you know, just like Katie was saying, like we have a sense sometimes of just judgment, and we really have to be able to not allow, especially now with social media, not to be able to think that we have to fit inside this particular box. I can't ever fit inside anybody's box. I'm 5'1". I'm 5'1", all these other things. So I'm not going to fit into, you know, the curvy box and all of these types of things. And like you said, Kimberly, later on, we're going to talk about those other things as well, of being able to accept who we are in the skin that we're in. So when we begin to have conversations with other women, you find out you may have some of the same similarities, but outwardly you're going to look different. Some of your experiences are going to be different, whether you decide to be a mom or not a mom, whether you're a single mom, married, whatever the situation is. All those situations are going to make us stronger when we can stop making judgments and we can really come together. And so even for me, with my group of friends, every time for my birthday, I always bring like all these different women together who are, you know, all of my friends, but then they get a chance to meet one another. And when you see all those conversations come about, because you bring all these beautiful women together, and I'm not talking about the physical beauty, just the energy and the beauty of who they are, then they end up, you know, they end up meeting people that they haven't met. Or this last birthday celebration, it was women in the group that were actually related to one another. But they were two separate groups coming together, and it warms my heart, because you're bringing all these beautiful spirits together and all this beautiful energy together. And then you realize, wow, we're all different, but we have this one common piece together, and it's conversation, it's beauty, it's strength, it's all of these things, it's all this encouragement. And that's always something that I always try to do, is bring different energies together. And then when you bring it together, you just keep letting it forge into other things outside. But it definitely goes into having conversations, sitting down and really listening to others, and being able to sit back and think, what can I learn to do to love myself, but being able to love another woman, whether she's a woman of color, whether she's someone else, whatever that looks like, being able to bring it together, and just continue to bring that sisterhood together in all different ways. But I definitely agree with Katie, is just really debunk it, just love who you are and try. But if you have a struggle with that, being able to know you can go and talk to someone and being able to have that conversation, so you can find joy and have that conversation, right?
That's the
And being
key.
able to have that therapy, right? But it goes down to all of that, being able to love who you are. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the key. Joy, did you have anything to add?
Well, for me, it's like the accepting changes. For
Hmm.
example, like there are some women that after giving birth, there's changes in their body.
Hmm.
And of course, before this person got pregnant, she was skinny, and now she just had a baby. Her belly is a little bit, big, which is normal. Okay, and then also there are just times too that when a woman just had a baby, they would this woman would go through like the postpartum depression, and
Mm-hmm.
like part of that is really we really have to understand that when we go through a change, that's a major thing in our body.
Hmm.
So we cannot just expect, oh, she just gave birth and she's supposed to be like sexy right away, you know at least give the person time, like maybe a year from now or something, or just there are also some women that what before they had a baby they're like well kept and everything because they already now they have 2 to 3 kids. Sometimes they could hardly brush their hair, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's not a right to judge.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
You are not
Yeah.
in their shoes.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let them, give them grace.
Hmm.
They can,
Yeah.
sometimes, it's okay for them to run around with not being, like groomed. Your hair is okay,
Mm-hmm.
So just, you know, be real. This is life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
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 I think compassion, listening to all of you all, I think one of the things Katie hit it right on the head is the judgment comes from lack of compassion
Hmm.
and putting ourselves in other people's shoes. Some of it could be generational too, because I remember when you talked about the postpartum joy and getting a little bit heavy, it just hit home to me because I remember when I first had Jazz, my daughter, and my grandmother saw me for the first time, and I had always been such a like I had been like always under the like 89 pounds. And the first thing she saw, she was like, "Oh, you done gained some weight, girl." She was like, "You gonna have to lose that weight. You're not gonna keep that man." And it was such a negative, but I
Hmm.
knew she loved me. But I just felt like I really felt so bad that I couldn't lose the weight right
Mm-hmm.
after I had Jasmine. And I was so depressed. And it didn't help my
Mm-hmm.
postpartum at all.
Hmm.
And then
Yep.
my self-image was under attack. And it was this constant misunderstanding. So, fortunate for me, I've been in therapy in and out since I was 18 years old. So it pushed me right back into therapy to get, I was like, she pushed me right back into therapy. And then I had the next time I saw her, she said the same thing. And my grandfather said the same thing. He was like, them, you're getting a little thick there, Kimberly. What they called me, a nickname, Sue, you're getting a little thick. And it just messed my mind up. I constantly went into self-judging. And I've learned now over the years, my daughter is a millennial and she has no children. She's not married. I'm not pushing her to have kids. We've had that talk. We've had that walk in the mountains 4 years ago. And she said, "What if I never had children?" And I said, "Okay." She's like, "If you never had a child by me, Mom, if like a grandchild by me, would you be disappointed?" I said, "No, my disappointment is that you'll never be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. That would be
Mm-hmm.
my disappointment, Jasmine, that you would never get a chance to do what you love to do." And that may come in phases and stages. That's why I tell her all the time, your life is going to come in phases and stages, Jasmine. Whatever you want to do, if you want to do it for 10 years and then you wash your hands of it and want to do something else, and you can afford to do that, you've got the flexibility to do that, then do it. I like to see more women. Kimberly has done a magnificent job, the praying CEOs, bringing women together for the common purpose of our faith and intercession and support of one another. But every single woman in that group is different on a magnitude and on a massive scale. if every woman in the praying shield stood by herself, she would stand in her spotlight. So when we all come together, it's blinding. And I wish we could see more of that, because I am fed up and sick of seeing shows like The Real Housewives and other social contracts of shows that bait women against one another. I grew up in the industry, in the corporate world, where there was only one or two women in the room. And then you had men pin us against one another because, Kimberly such and such does it better, which would force me to re-examine my work ethic, which I knew my work ethic was a good ethic, but it would force me to look at her as an adversary, not as an adversary, like against her, like she was my enemy. And she never was. And we never got a chance. And this really happened. I was in the corporate industry in my 20s, and I was going up the scale. I had a wonderful mentor, Julia King. She's no longer with me, but she taught me everything I know. She was she was not even a shark. She was a she was a parasite. She would eat you up. She'd be one woman in a sea of men. She taught me what I knew. But what she taught me was never allow a man to pin me against another woman. But that other female didn't have that mentorship. So I was not her very close friend. And it was only two of us. And we never got a chance to bond. And that was one of the things I look back and regret in my 20s, that was one woman I never got a chance to bond with, because it was only two of us. It was 50 men. And they outnumbered us, but we allowed them to play that game with us. And I want to see us to really change, when the culture to change, and to teach our young girls not to pin yourself against another female.
So cultural change happens not because of what we say, not because of what we write down, but because of what we tolerate and what we permit. So we really want to change the culture of how women treat each other. Then we have to consistently model that behavior.
Absolutely.
And that cultural change takes a long time to change in hearts and minds. And sometimes when we think about change, you want to see it happen instantly. It really is like climbing a mountain. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
You got to be consistent. You got to chip away at that mountain. You got to take your pick, and you just kind of go climb it one step at a time.
Yeah.
And focus on the doable. The doable. What is doable is that change the way that we behave in our circle.
Right.
And hopefully those people will see what we're doing, and they'll experience the grace that they're being given, and they change what's happening, what they do in their circle. And the same thing happens, and it becomes a movement.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so very true. And, to that question of how can we do better? What can we do to be better? One of the things that I think that you just pointed out, Katie, is the consistency. So even when you're tired, you have to be consistent and stay committed to that thing that you said that you are fighting for. Even when you're persecuted, even when, all of the objections and go ahead.
Even when that other woman got on your last nerve.
Yes. Yeah.
Then
you stay the course.
Of course.
Somebody gave me an example the other day that she was someplace, and a woman walked by her with a baby on her hip, and she spoke to the woman, and the woman just kind of said, just kind of grunted at her. And she was immediately judging that woman. What a bad attitude, how nasty.
Yeah.
We had race in there too. Okay. So white woman who's, she just doesn't like black people. That's why she doesn't greet me. But then once the woman sat down, up comes about 5 other children, all different races, by the way, all of them at different ages, calling this woman mama. So here's this woman trying to wrangle 6 kids, right? And and she didn't have her therapist right there with her. But if this other person had not seen those other children coming up, then that judgment of that woman would have stood.
Yeah.
Instead of her just saying, well, can I help you with something? You know,
Mm-hmm.
your baby for you, or how's your day today? She
Mm-hmm.
went into judgment and shut her down. So
Mhm.
I think that we have to be really aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're so taught to cancel. Because we're taught these days to cancel people,
Right.
to attack. We're also, so
Mhm.
many people are so defensive and looking to be victims. And so it's like,
Mhm.
well, you did me wrong. You know, you didn't speak to me. Like, who are you? You know, and you
Right.
never
Right.
know what somebody else is going through. So where's the
Mhm.
grace
Mhm.
that you may
Yeah.
need tomorrow? Where is the
Mhm.
grace that you could give today that you may need tomorrow? And that's
Mhm.
something that we have to consistently consider.
Yeah.
Is, you know, when
Right.
we talk
Yeah.
about how can we become better, we can say, hey, you know, I might
Mhm.
extend the grace to you today that I
Mhm.
need
Right.
tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a lady clap back at me about a week or so ago. She had a really bad attitude, and it was really just a misunderstanding. And I just had to, one thing that I never really say this unless it's like a really good friend, but I just looked at her, I said, hey sis, we're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
like it was in the bank. I was like, hey sis, we're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I said, we're not doing this. If you're having a bad day, that's okay. But what we're not going to do as women, especially not in public, you're not going to clap at me. I'm not going to clap back at you. Like, we're not doing this, not as women. And especially not at my age, almost 55 years old. Like, I'm not going to do that with another
Mm-hmm.
woman. If I've got something to say, it's got to be a close friend where I can lay it out and be truthful about, you know, if you hurt my feelings, if you've stepped over the line, if you violated my boundaries, I get that. But as soon as I said that, she just looked at me and she turned her head and she kept on going. I come back out of the bank and she's standing there and she was like, thanks for saying that. And I said, you're more than welcome. And all I said I said, I don't know if you like to be touched or not. I said, but I'd love to give you a hug. And just in solidarity, just as sisters. And she was like, yes, I would love that. I don't know if that was the first time somebody had hugged her all day long. I have no idea what led her up to that moment. I was not having the best day either. I was feeling overwhelmed and tense and tight as well. I had 1,000 things on my list, and I'm pretty sure she did too. So it goes back to what we've all been saying. I think putting ourselves in other women's shoes. And listen, it was a true misunderstanding. Just something as simple as being in line and that's my spot, not your spot. Just something as minuscule as that could have went so wrong. And then next thing you know, her and I both on TikTok, and everybody got their cameras out and hashtagging, Karen like two females fighting in the bank. So it's just like, being conscious of that this woman that's before me that's got an attitude, she's my sister. She's my sister in gender, like in being a woman. She's my sister, and I have to see her as that, regardless of the circumstances. So I would like for us to be more conscious of that and more compassionate, and take ourselves out of the taking our personal selves, like our egos, out of the way,
Right.
and say, listen, sis, we're not doing that.
So you cannot change the other person's actions, but you
Mm-hmm.
And always change your reaction.
reaction and make sure
Yeah.
it is a response.
Yes.
Something
Exactly.
you thought about instead of just a knee jerk, because
Yes.
that's where people get into trouble and that's where things go wrong. And they
Exactly.
react instead of respond.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
talk really as we talk about sisterhood and supporting one another and all of that. I am every woman. Some of the things that happen as we get older is our faces change, our bodies change, our perspective on life. Hopefully we become wiser. Hopefully. So what is something that
You forgot the grayer.
yeah, oh yeah. The grays start to tell all your
I'm
business.
still covering.
Look.
I ain't there yet. I'm not there yet.
I let it go. I let it go. I let it go, McGee. I let it go.
No, I have not to color. I'm not
I
totally
pulled
there
this
yet.
back, it's
Not
all
totally-
white.
I
Katie
haven't
just
totally got
showed
there yet.
her
That's right.
I
her
saw her
grace.
giving it all, giving it all,
Yeah.
giving
But
it
you know,
all.
it's a personal choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
if I weren't so lazy and cheap, I might be coloring mine too.
Yeah.
Mm. I just got so tired of it, Katie. I was like, no, I'm tired of this. I said, I'm just gonna let
Yeah.
it go.
Well, I
Yeah.
decided that, you know, everybody knows I'm not. I tell people I've been 39, 28 times, but they know I'm really not 39. So why do I need to do that? But it is a personal
It
choice.
is. Right. It
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I said
Yeah.
through COVID,
Yeah.
we started seeing more people stop dyeing, more women stop dyeing their hair and began to accept the silver and the beauty of it. And you know,
Yeah.
it is a
Yeah.
personal choice. You know, I
Mhm.
love
Mhm.
it. I love seeing it. Am I ready for it personally? No, but I celebrate. I
I love
celebrate.
seeing it. I think it's fly. I think it's
That's right.
fly. I think it's.
But you're not
I'm
gonna
just
do
wanting to
it.
get. I'm not doing it
McGee's
yet.
like,
I'm just getting used. I'm just getting used to being back to my natural
natural
curls.
curls.
You
Yeah.
know, because
Yes.
my hair, and here we are. The question is, you know, do we have it all? Can you know, or can we have it all?
What is
Can
it
can,
all?
can we have it all?
What is
And
all?
what is all?
That's
Right.
right.
What is
Right.
all?
Right.
Because here's the thing.
I used to think I had it all.
The global definition of women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
The global definition of women assumes that each one of us has the same definition for it all.
Mm-hmm.
My it
Mm-hmm.
all,
Yes.
your
Yeah.
it all.
Yeah.
And so here's that thing with somebody's trying to put us in a box again.
Mm-hmm.
All women are trying to have the same thing. That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
So I
That's
make
true.
it my it
Well,
all
Right.
just fine.
I think we
Some
need
stuff
to recognize the seasons too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, people try to have it all at one time, whatever their it all is
is,
at one moment, and then get so burned out, overwhelmed, hair falling out, all types of sickness and things like that. You know, I think for me, my it all, I would say, is spaced out over seasons, because people look at me and say, you do a lot, like you have a lot going on. But for me, my it all is not the a lot. Like, it's the purpose. It's behind the a
It's
lot. And
behind
so
doing it.
I have to space that out. Sometimes I can't do a specific thing that I'm doing now. I could do it later though. You know, like I said, with L.O.V.E and Flow, it took me 3 years. I had the idea, but it took me 3 years to actually do it. So I think for me, it all is seasons. It has to happen over seasons.
Yeah.
So I
I
go back
like
to
that.
2 days.
Mm-hmm.
As I was a single parent, had a very demanding job, had to travel.
Mm-hmm.
I decided that, well, my name is not Martha Stewart. I don't have to have a spotless house.
That's right.
You know, being able to pass the white glove test was not in my definition of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with that. But somebody else says, well, she can't have it all because she doesn't have a spotless house. You know, she doesn't have a showcase of a house. I said, well, that was never in my definition of having it all in the first place. That was the global definition of what it means to
Right.
bacon fried up in the pan. Never ever let him forget he's a man. That's the global definition. That was never my definition.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh,
I
Joy,
think
you were gonna say Joy was
Joy.
gonna
Go ahead,
say
go
yes.
ahead, Joy.
Well, we have also to learn that we are each individual. All right. So what I mean by that is that it could be Kimberly McGee's season, and it's going to be not mine.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mhm.
So it could be the other Kimberly season, you know, and then when it's Kim's season, the McGee season, we have to learn to support her. But then again, when you also see me struggling, you that are also in the season, you have to see me. And you can see me like I am a little bit off. You have to learn to come down to me and say, hey, sister, do you need a hand?
Yes.
So, because
Absolutely.
you know what? Like you said, we all have our own season. We don't grow the same time.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look
That's
at the
good.
same. Yeah. I like
Yeah,
that.
so
Go
we
ahead.
just have to support each other, whatever season we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yeah.
Felicia.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, like you said, the different seasons, because my season as a single mom, is a different season than it is now, because now,
Mm-hmm.
my son's moved on, he's moved out. I can't say he's moved on, he's moved out. And my season became, my move to Smithfield, which was definitely very unexpected. It was in God's plan to be here, but it was like my life was in different seasons. It became, mom, and then raising him and seeing him through school and going through all those different changes. And then it's like, now it's like, when he and I had a conversation, my son and I had a conversation, he was like, Mom, this is your time, this is your season. And so
Mm,
I looked at that, I was like, wow, this is coming from a 17-year-old, but he's like, this is your season. I'm
Mm-hmm.
moving out and I'm going into my season in my life, and now this is your season. So like you said, it's like every part of our lives should be a season of growth, but it's going to look very different. I
Mhm.
have,
Mhm.
I'm an empty nester, but I have some friends who, are not empty nesters. And so my life
Mm-hmm.
is very different, but it doesn't mean that I look at them any different. We lift each other up, we keep each other encouraged. But I also have to remember that I'm in that different season where
Right.
I'm making sure I'm supporting them as, in different ways. So you're right. We go through those different seasons, but we have to be able to lift each other up and be
mm,
there
Yeah,
for one
Mm-hmm.
another. And so when
exactly.
those moments come, you don't forget that
mhm.
doesn't make things change for me. I'm still a single mom. It's just life in this
Right.
chapter looks a little bit different. And so, but it's
Mm-hmm.
afforded me to do a lot more things in the community, because now my focus
Mm,
shifted from having to focus on him, as a mom and as a son
Mm-hmm.
mom relationship, to now I can have that, Felicia community relationship. But that means my son is still there, but it's just a little bit different season. So I love how
yeah.
you mentioned that, Joy, and Katie and Kim, McGee, everyone's mentioned the same thing, both our Kims. You're in that different season, but where are you falling in that season, and where can you continue to lift
Yeah.
everyone else up when they're in their season?
Yeah.
But we can't.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, my definition of having it all was staying organized. I had my mom calendar, my son calendar. It was staying organized,
Mhm.
Mhm,
and it's still staying
mhm,
organized. But I feel
mhm,
like I do have it all, and I have it all because I also take a day of rest. Right, I take that day to just carve out
mm,
for me. And
mhm.
so it's about that makes me feel like I have it all without having to have the definition of what other people think that should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so
Mm,
that
mhm.
that makes it feel like it's my all that has been
Yeah.
able to be created for me.
Yeah.
Men
Yeah.
would never have this conversation.
Never.
I said, man, how do you have it all? I mean, do you have it all?
Yeah, yeah.
So to me, the fact that we even talk about, question whether or not we can have it all, is
Mm-hmm.
one of those things that society imposes on us.
Mm-hmm.
That we're
Yeah.
supposed to even try to have it all. Men never say, "Well, can I have it all?" They just assume
Mm-hmm.
that they will work their lives in a way that suits them.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. And I think it plays a part of the issues of our mental health as well when we try to accomplish that. Like as you were saying, Katie, the society image of what having it all looks like for a
Mhm.
woman, having a man, having a clean house, having your children look a certain way and still maybe do a career and be successful in that. That's exhausting. And
Mhm.
if you can do that and you're partnered with the right person, and you guys can play off of each other and be successful in that nucleus, I applaud you.
Mhm.
That's
If
not
that's
my
your
story.
definition of having
That's
it
not my
all,
story.
if
Yep.
that's your definition of having it all,
If
Right.
that's your
It's
definition of
definition of
having it
having
all.
all.
But it goes back to what you just said about men don't really contemplate, or they don't have those if they do, I don't know about it,
no,
have
they
those conversations about uh I have to give up this to have this, and I have to give up that to have this. And they just assume they're going to be able to do everything they want to do.
Mhm.
But I think it does play on our mental state. I don't know if any of you all watched the movie Barbie. But I really watched it only because I wanted to see what the context was like,
Mhm.
because it was directed by a woman, written by a woman. And
Yeah.
so it really took me by surprise. There's a conversation, there's a monologue in there that America Fiera actually goes into about being a woman. And you have to have a child, but you can't talk about your children. You have to look skinny, but you can't look anorexic. You're like, these are all of these components that are pressured on women and presses us down, presses us down, presses us down, and presses us down. And the whole concept is that Barbie becomes no longer this plastic image of what a woman's supposed to look like. She becomes real. And then she realizes that she's trying to get her Barbie house back, but she realizes that the complex of what woman is, and that she's played a role in this nucleus of an image of what a woman's supposed to look like, and it starts to really depress her, and it hurts her soul. She realizes, she's played a role in it, though she's just this image, this figure of what a man, from a man's perspective, from an industry that says this is what you're supposed to look like. And I just feel like we fall into that trap one way or another. And I really want us to see us break that cycle for the generation. But I think it was Katie that said, it goes back to us having that conversation and also accepting. And Joy said it so easily. If I'm here and I know you're here, is to go back and say, hey, sis, you need my help. There's a woman on TikTok. She talked about it. She's a white female. She had 3 kids on the plane, and one of her babies was having a total meltdown. And this Black mother gets up and says, give him to me. And she's like, oh, he'll never come. She said, give him to me. And she gives the baby to this Black mother, and she's walking him up, and she's talking with him and nurturing him. And she was crying. She put it on TikTok, and she said, this other mother came in and saved her. She was drowning. She was drowning. People were screaming at her because her baby was screaming. And she said, I was drowning, and this other mother stood in the gap for me. And I will never forget her. I'll never forget what she did for me. She allowed me to take a space for my other 2 children to rest myself. And then when her other kids fell asleep and the baby fell asleep, she said, okay. She said, no, you go to sleep. I've got him. And she took care of that baby the whole plane ride. That's what we need to do, is fill in the gap for one another.
See
Absolutely.
that one person made the difference.
One person made the difference.
While everybody else was judging, one person. It only takes one person to make the difference.
That's right.
And she did that.
That's right. That's right.
And it makes a big difference. It makes such a big difference for someone to just come in and say, I got you. I got you. Yep. I got you.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm here
what
for
we
you,
need.
and I have you. And we need more of that.
Well, here you have two women, different races, different ethnic backgrounds. One didn't have a child on the board, one did. But there was a commonality. We talked about the differences. She could have looked at her, going back to what Katie said, judgment. She could have looked at her and said, she cannot handle her children. They are overruling her. She needs to do this. She needs to do that. If I was that child's mother, I would do this, thus, and so. She did not do that. She found the similarity to say, if I was her, if I was in that place, that's another woman that's in distress. How can I help her? Absolutely. And I think that is critical as we move forward in setting the tone for our women. And it goes back to the question, how can we become better? How do we become better as women?
To that conversation though, she could have, she could have been saying, I could do it better though. She could have, because she could have been this person who raised kids and she just knew how to handle, so she could have, but I think the bigger picture, to your point, is that regardless of what she was thinking or feeling, whatever, she didn't just walk away and leave that woman. She still stepped in. And so I think that's the thing, like taking a posture of, I want to support, I want to be there, no matter what that is, no matter what that thought, that because we're human, we do have that thought now. Come on, but you still might step in. Even though you have that thought. I don't know how many times because I was in early childhood education forever. Let me go get this kid, but you still, it's the part of you that's like, I can do it better. However, it's the point of it. Now, I don't know that, but I'm just saying the point of it is to still show up for your sister, right? That's the whole point. The comedy of it all is you've been there. And so maybe you do have something to share that you could still reach back and say, well, I've been here, let me help you. So, but that's the part of the better to me. That's the point of it. You had asked, how can we do better? that's the part of the better for me, you know, like you just step in and you say, hey, I am a part of the community that says I'm my sister's keeper. And so what can I do
Yeah.
to help this situation? She doesn't have to be superwoman because I could come in and help her so she doesn't have to
Yeah.
save the day.
And
So
also
yeah.
we have to remember, that there are resources out there.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, so if this sister is willing to lend a hand, you have to remember, if you're struggling, say the word.
Mhm.
Like, I need help, I need
Oh,
something, you know,
right.
I need help.
Right.
Mhm.
Something like that. All right.
Right.
It's I
But
don't know how to read your thoughts.
You're
mhm.
right.
So, if you're struggling somewhere, you need help, you have to learn how to say something.
But
Like,
right.
yeah,
Yeah. But sometimes it's so hard because of the stigma of women having it all and always being the mom and all of this. And we take a lot, and sometimes we internalize. Like you
Mhm.
said, Joy, it would be nice to say, I need help. But sometimes we
hmm
internalize, well, if I ask for help, does that make me a weak mom? Does that make me a weak
Mm,
person? And
Mhm.
so sometimes we internalize all of that and we just keep carrying on because we're almost thought to carry the weight of
mhm.
everything and just move on and not cry about it and not be emotional about it. And if we fall apart, there's judgment that comes around that. I remember volunteering at a school right here in my community, and a mother literally just broke down. And we just grabbed the babies and we just comforted her and everything because she actually has twins and both of them are autistic. And that's a lot. And she doesn't have a lot of
It's
support
a
system
lot.
here. And
That's a
so,
lot.
but because we have the compassion, we showed up for her. We made sure, like you said, Joel, we were able to give resources to her, but we
yeah,
didn't know in that conversation that she didn't have any family until the day she literally had an absolute meltdown. And because of
yeah,
that, we knew then she needed help. But a lot of times out of 10, it's the judgment that comes along with it. So it's that
yeah,
judgment of, like, if you're asking for help or people walk in the door and they automatically assume you're not able to handle your children, then women have a tendency to just shut down. But it's
Mhm.
nice to know that we have joys in the world who can actually say, I got you, I have resources for you,
Right.
to
hmm
do that.
Hmm.
But like you said, we have to try to move the stigma out and not worry about what
yeah,
other people say, because we need to show up 100% for
Yeah.
ourselves so we can show up for our children, as
hmm
well. But we definitely have to start moving the stigma out of the way. And I had to learn that as a single mom to be able to ask for help when I need it, and I have no fear of doing that now. So
Mhm.
I
So,
Yeah.
need help, but yeah.
yeah, there was a time that my son was at the Central Regional Hospital,
Hmm.
and the daily, bill there, it was so high.
Hmm.
So he was there for 30 days, and then the 20 days was supposed to be paid by the insurance. So the 10 was supposed to be mine,
Hmm.
you know. And then the hospital, like the billing lady, she called me. She said, "Hey, Miss Redley, I just want to tell you that your bill is this. You still have to pay for that. You this or that." At that time, we had that hurricane, destroyed our house, destroyed our car, and then my son was to the hospital, and then I would hear that I say, "You need to pay." I think I still need to pay about 20,000. What? I was like, then I just voiced out and I started crying, really, really, like, and I told the lady, I said, our house was just destroyed by the hurricane. My car was squashed. I mean, it's just like I don't know right now
Mhm.
how to feel. I just don't know how to feel. I just cried and cried. And then she said to me, I remember her name until this day. She said, "Hold on, I'll do what I could to help you. I will call you, give me 2 to 3 days, and then I will call you back." I think it was only like 2 days. She called me back. She said, "You know what? I found some granting for you. You're not gonna pay nothing." Yay! Say, because I said something.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
for real, you know. I was
Yes.
like, this is what I need. I was just like, what can I do? It's just like I don't know what to feel anymore. I don't know what to do. Our roof is tore up. My car is broken, and then I have to pay $20,000. Are you serious? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I like. Well, she made it for me. She did it
Mm-hmm.
for me, and I said until this day, I remember his name. Her name. Her name is Katina. Whoever you are, I don't remember your last name. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
stay with you through
Yes.
life.
Oof.
Yes.
Yeah. That hand out of
Yeah,
She
support.
I
she
see.
she
I
yeah,
go.
she was able to find some resources for me because
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I asked.
Yes.
I
Mm-hmm.
asked, help me. I don't know what to do. I got no money to give you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
So
that
Yes.
goes to the title of this conversation. I am
Mm,
every woman. So if we step
mhm,
into the
Mhm.
shoes of the woman on the other line calling in distress,
mhm,
or our
Yes.
mhm.
sister who just needs a listening ear, or somebody to
Yes.
understand that we didn't mean to say it like that, or
Right.
just whatever it is, whatever it is, then it
Yeah.
changes.
Yes.
It
And it
changes
It
our
changes
changes
life.
everything.
It
everything.
It
changes
It
does. It
changes
really
so
does.
everything.
much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I think I think we have to remember too, women's rights is just not locally and regional. We still have to fight for women globally. Like that is really important because none of us are free as women until all of us are free as women.
Mhm.
When
mhm.
all girls can get educated, when all girls can have civil rights and civil liberties, when we all can stand and be able to be free and not be married off and tortured or treated like a second class citizen, or like we don't have we're not a citizen at all, and we're not considered value, and we don't have representation until all of us
Mhm.
are consciously visible,
Mhm.
where every little girl, they may not see, they may see the vice president and look at her and say, wow, I can be a vice president, but she may be so far apart from that mindset. But there's a Felicia in her community that's running for office, that's a Black female, and you're tangible, and they
Mhm.
can see you and they can touch
Absolutely.
you. Yes,
Absolutely.
they know there's a Vice President Harris. They know
Right.
that. But that
Yeah.
could be so far off.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's the small things.
Small
So
things,
I
right?
think there's a small portion of being what it's like to
Mhm.
be a girl.
Mhm.
And I'm proud to be a girl. People like,
Mhm.
don't call me a girl. I'm a girl. I like being a girl.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
like being feminine. Even though I'm a feminist, I'm still feminine.
Mhm.
I still like being a girl. I like it. But I really want to make sure that
Mhm.
globally we're fighting for the women and the girls that don't have
Yes.
a voice,
Mhm.
that are still subjected to ridicule and lack of resources, but that we also still touch the hearts of the little girls that are growing up, the
Mhm.
young ladies that are
Mhm.
becoming women, the
Mhm.
women that are our sisters, our the women that are our aunties, the women that are our mothers, the women that are our grandmothers, that we all still come together and realize we're all in this as one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I want to thank our guests for joining us this evening. To Katie Gailes, our spotlight, Joy Rutledge, and then also Felicia Baxter. Do you all have any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you for spotlighting me, and I appreciate the conversation. It's always good to talk with other enlightened women and talk about women. So
Yeah.
thank
Yeah,
you.
Yes.
yeah. You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you so much for this opportunity to definitely be with all of you this evening. Have met some amazing, amazing women, and Katie and Joy, and of course McGee and Kimberly. Being able to be here tonight and just being able to share this opportunity to speak about women, and just being able to know we got to be there. We're an example. And an inspiration to the women that are out there and the little girls that are coming through. And we just got to continue to reach out to them and really make a difference, in being able to just inspire, to empower them, that they can be, not all, but they can be exactly who they, thrive to be in their futures as
Absolutely.
Yeah.
well. So no matter what our
Hmm.
ages are.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
right.
Yes.
right.
Living
And
proof.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, you are, Katie. Yes,
Love
you
it.
are. So
Love
yes,
it. Love
definitely.
it.
Joy, did you have any final words?
Well, I just want to remind the people that mental health issues is for real. If you are struggling with it, there's help. You don't have to suffer it alone. So reach out and say something. We're right here for you. And
Mhm.
just don't hide. Just don't hide.
Yeah.
Come out
Yeah.
and get the help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So thank all of you ladies, and then also my co-host Kimberly McGee.
Yeah.
I hope that you all enjoyed the show. This has been
Yes.
fun. I
Yes.
am every woman. I am woman. Hear me roar. But also make sure I want to shout out any sponsor of the show. We have His Name Media, who is the sponsor of the show, and then also Word Crumbs, Coffee and Collaborations produces. And so to all of our partners as well, thank you for your support, especially to the ladies as we highlight Women's History Month this particular month. April, we're talking about the color of money for Financial Literacy Month. So hopefully you all will be able to join us for a powerful show as well at the end of April. But look to join us at L.O.V.E Flow TV, Coffee and Collaborations, and everything that we have going on. It's exciting times. And then as we go through the process, as we continue to have to shift, as we become grandmothers for Kimberly McGee, not myself, and then also my daughter's in high school, and Kenya has her son and her daughter, and just all the shifts and changes in our careers. Thank you for your patience growing with us and adjusting with us. So just be on the lookout for upcoming announcements, adjustments, changes, and last but not least, once again, shout out to my co-host Kimberly McGee. But also, I want to say that this has been such a wonderful month spotlighting women who are trailblazers, women who sometimes are going unnoticed behind the scenes, just working, doing their best to be a light for just the one. So back to what we were talking about just a moment ago. And Marianne Williamson said it really well in her poem, Our Deepest Fear, that someone is waiting for you to shine so they have permission to do the same. So that's why it's so important to be authentically you and to shine your light so that somebody will get a cast from that and feel permission to do the same. It doesn't come from VP Kamala Harris. It'll come directly from you. So you all have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you back again for another episode of L.O.V.E Flow TV in April.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
This has been a Coffee and Collaborations media production.